Lost and Found Cat. The True Story of Kuntz's Incredible Journey by Doug Kuntz and Amy Shrodes. Late one night in August 2015, a car driven by a smuggler snuck out of the city of Mosul in the country of Iraq. The smuggler's passengers were a mother and her 4 daughters and 1 son. The father had recently died. Surah, the mother, had paid the smugglers to help her family flee the country. Mosul had become too dangerous. A few days earlier, the family had gotten ready to leave. Since they could only bring what they could carry, they had packed just 1 bag full of food and water. They would buy clothes later, but Surah had decided they could not leave without their beloved cat. Kuntz, Surah, prayed that the cat, hidden in a small carrier, would stay quiet. If the smuggler discovered Kuntz, he would make her pay a great deal more money. 2 hours later, the car stopped and they were told to get out. Another smuggler met them and led them on foot through the forest and over mountains, stopping only to eat and sleep in the woods. Surah feared for her children, Rahab, Hakam, Ma'ab, Al-Bab, and Ansab. But they saw it as an adventure, often singing as they walked during the 3-day journey. Surah and her son, Hakam, took turns carrying Kuntz at the back of the line, so if the cat meowed, the smuggler would not hear him. Whenever they stopped to rest, Surah took Kuntz behind some trees to let him out and feed him. On the 4th day, they reached a Kurdish village, where another smuggler was waiting to take them to Istanbul, Turkey, in a bus. While the smuggler drove, the family had to be on the lookout for patrols trying to catch them. The family stayed in the city for 2 weeks, moving from one apartment to another. At least Kuntz could wander freely inside. Finally, it was time to cross the Aegean Sea to Greece. The family boarded another bus and drove to a place called Izmir on the Turkish coast. Then they walked 3 hours along the beach until they were told to put on life jackets. The Greek island of Lesbos was 6 miles across the water. Kuntz and his family were crammed aboard a flimsy rubber boat. It was meant to carry only 25 people, but there were more than 60 men, women, and children on the boat, plus 1 secret cat. Almost as soon as the overcrowded boat launched, it began taking on water because it was too heavy. From the shore, people shouted at the passengers to throw their belongings overboard to make the boat lighter, but most refused. Surah tried to hold Kuntz's carrier above the water until a wave drenched them all. The sinking boat had to return to shore. As a crush of people got off, Kuntz's carrier door was broken. Determined to make the crossing, Surah told the kids to stay aboard. The boat launched again, this time with fewer passengers. Surah was scared because only her son, Hakam, could swim, but her daughters were unconcerned, enjoying their ride in the sun after weeks of hiding. The 3-hour crossing to Lesbos felt like it flew by thanks to their excitement. Volunteers in Greece waited on the shore to help the hundreds of refugees arriving every day. As soon as the boat reached the beach, panicky, shivering, passengers scrambled to get off. Hakam splashed ashore with Kuntz's and put the carrier on dry land. Then he hurried back to help his mother off the boat. Wet and frightened, Kuntz pushed his way out of the broken door of his carrier. He quickly disappeared into the forest like a deer. While the rest of the boat passengers were loaded onto a bus to continue their journey, the family refused to leave without their cat. Several volunteers helped them look for Kuntz. They searched for hours. At last, they had to give up. The heartbroken family needed to leave, taking the next step forward to their new home. In a little fishing village on Lesbos, near where Kuntz's family had arrived, there lived a colony of island cats. No one owned them, but fishermen kept them well fed. A few days after Kuntz's family had left, volunteers noticed a white cat hanging around the local cafes. The white cat's fur was filthy and matted. He looked like he was starving. The local cats seemed to know he was a stranger. They hissed and spat and chased him away. One of the volunteers, Amy, told her friend and fellow volunteer, Ashley, about the cat she'd seen. Could this white cat be the one the family had lost? After questioning villagers and searching the island, Amy and Ashley found the white cat and took him to a local vet. Dr. Constantina shaved the cat's matted, filthy fur. She gave him his shots and other medication. But this cat needed a name for now. Dr. Constantina suggested Diaz to give him strength. Diaz is the Greek name for Zeus, the name of the ancient Greek god. The friends took Diaz back to Amy's apartment. His shaved fur was still full of sand and bugs. Amy bathed and scrubbed him until he was clean. 5 minutes later, after his bath, the exhausted cat collapsed face down, mid-meow, and slept. Diaz stayed with Amy for over a month. Often he prowled around her apartment, yowling loudly. Amy believed he was looking for his family. Reunite Diaz. Please click here to donate. Amy and her friends were determined to reunite Diaz with his family. But where were they? Volunteers created flyers, and Amy's friend Michelle, back in the United States, made a Facebook page for him. People contributed money to help pay for his medical care and travel. Before long, news stories about the lost cat appeared around the world. Millions of people saw the videos, articles, and Facebook updates about Diaz. He had become famous. Amy was fairly sure that Diaz's family had left Greece. Many of the refugee families had traveled to Germany. Since Amy's time in Lesbos was ending, she made plans to take Diaz to Germany. She and Diaz flew to Berlin, where a British couple named Emma and Simon had agreed to take care of him and continue the search. If his family could not be found after a year, they would adopt him. And then, on Valentine's Day, the family saw their lost cat on a news website. The oldest daughter, Rehab, who had learned some English, contacted Amy and her friends through Facebook. Everyone had been looking in the wrong place. The family was living in Norway, not Germany. Rehab told Amy that Diaz's real name was Kuntz. The volunteers arranged a Skype visit. When the family saw the fluffy white cat on screen, they called, "Kuntz!" His ear perked up. He started searching for his family. A photographer named Doug in Lesbos and Germany, to show the refugees' story to the world, agreed to fly with Kuntz from Germany to Norway. But when he got to the airport in Berlin, the supervisor behind the counter told him he could not board the plane. "That carrier is too small," she said with a sniff. By this time, a crowd had gathered around Doug and his yowling white cat. Doug pleaded with her. He told her the carrier was the right size. "That carrier is so small the cat can't turn around," she snapped. At that moment, Kuntz made a dramatic 180-degree turn inside his carrier. The crowd laughed, and the supervisor grudgingly agreed to allow them onto the plane. In Norway, Doug rented a car and drove 2 hours to the family's new home. They were waiting eagerly for him. So was a team of camera people and reporters. Sura opened the door and blinked at the bright lights of the cameras. Then she burst into tears as Doug placed Kuntz in her arms. Mahahabi, she murmured. That's Arabic for my darling. The entire family crowded around their long-lost pet. After 4 months and thousands of miles, Kuntz and his family were finally together in their new home. We're all safe now, said Surah.